In London, the sun was shining, but Iris Cole felt like she was standing in a blizzard. There, in her hand, was a picture of Zuri, the 19-year-old girl Jett said he had sent to nursing school in Europe. But Zuri wasn't in a classroom. She was standing in front of a white villa by the ocean in Elmina. She wasn't wearing a nurse's uniform. She was wearing expensive silk. And she wasn't alone. Iris flips to the next photo. Her eyes widen. In the background of the picture, there are colorful plastic toys scattered on a marble porch. A small boy, with Jett's unmistakable chin, is peeking through the railing. Jett had told her he was giving back. He told her he was a mentor. He told her she was just a maid. Iris looked at the staircase leading up to their bedroom, where Jett was still sleeping, peaceful and unaware. She realized in that moment that her 20-year marriage wasn't a kingdom. It was a movie set, and the cameras had just stopped rolling. Iris grips the photo so hard the paper crinkles. She looks at the second man in the photo, standing in the shadows of the porch. It's Dex Mensa. He isn't looking at Zuri like a manager. He's looking at the house like he's the one who built the fence. This wasn't a scholarship. This was a second life. And while Iris was playing the role of the queen in London, the maid had already taken the throne in Ghana. You think you can bury a secret this big, Jett? Secrets have a funny way of digging themselves up. The trap is set. Iris has the proof, and Jett is still asleep upstairs. Before we move to the confrontation, what would you do? Would you wake him up with a slap? Or would you quietly pack your bags and leave without saying a word? The silence in the London townhouse was so thick you could hear the clock ticking in the hallway. Iris didn't go upstairs to scream. She simply sat at the breakfast table and waited. When Jett finally walked down, wearing his expensive silk robe and smelling like expensive cologne, he looked like a man who owned the world. He reached for the coffee pot, humming a soft high-life tune. Then he saw the photo. He didn't move for 10 whole seconds. His hands stayed frozen in midair. Jett controlled his fear. He sat down slowly. He didn't look at Iris. He looked at the photo of Zuri and the children as if he were studying a piece of art. "Iris, let me explain," he said. His voice was smooth, the same voice that sold out stadiums. "I knew you'd eventually see this. I was going to tell you, but I didn't want to worry you while I was recovering from surgery." "Worry me about what, Jett?" Iris asked. Her voice was like ice. "About the house? Or the children who have your nose?" Jett let out a long, tired sigh. The kind a father uses when a child doesn't understand a complicated problem. "The house is a foundation, Iris. The Jett Cole legacy home. It's for village girls who have nowhere to go. Zuri isn't living there like a queen. She's managing it. She's the house mother. And those kids, they are orphans, Iris. I'm paying for their lives because I have been blessed, and I wanted to give back." Iris didn't blink. "And the toys? The children who look just like you? And why is Dex standing there like he's guarding a secret?" Jett shook his head, looking disappointed. "Dex? He's the one who handled the paperwork. If things look too comfortable, it's because Dex probably went overboard with the budget. You know how he is, he wants everything to look superstar quality even if it's a charity. As for the kids looking like me, Iris, that's just a coincidence. You're seeing patterns because you're stressed." He reached across the table to touch her hand. She pulled back. "You're calling me crazy?" she whispered. "I said you are tired," Jett said softly. "I hid this because I knew people would twist a good deed into something ugly. Just like you're doing right now." Jett stood up. He looked hurt. He looked like the victim. "I have given you everything, Iris. I have been faithful. I have worked my heart into failure for this family. And you think I'm living a double life in a village? If you believe that, then you don't know the man you married." He walked toward the door, stopping only to say, "If you want to end 20 years over a photo of a charity project, that's your choice. But don't blame my heart when it finally gives out from the heartbreak you're causing." He left the room, leaving Iris alone with the photos. For a split second, she looked at the boy in the picture again. She looked at Jett's sincere face. She felt a wave of doubt. Was he telling the truth? Was she being too hard on a sick man? But then, She noticed one tiny detail in the photo she hadn't seen before. On the porch of the house, hanging near the door, was a set of wind chimes. They were the exact same ones she had bought for Jett years ago. The lie was perfect, but it wasn't perfect enough. Jett thinks he won this round, but his body is going to pay the price for his lies. Jett walked toward the door, his head held high like a man who had just won a court case. He expected Iris to follow him, crying and apologizing for ever doubting him. That was how their marriage usually worked. Jett performed and Iris applauded. But the applause didn't come. "Jett," Iris said. Her voice wasn't shaky anymore. It was sharp as a razor. "Stop walking." He paused, his hand on the doorframe. He didn't turn around. "I've said enough, Iris. My heart can't take this." "Your heart is fine enough to lie," she snapped. "Look at the photo again. Specifically, look at the front porch." Jett turned, a fake look of exhaustion on his face. "Iris, please." "The wind chimes, Jett," she interrupted. She pointed a trembling finger at the tiny, silver chimes hanging in the background of the photo. "I bought those in Paris 5 years ago. I bought 2 sets. One is on our balcony. The other went missing from your suitcase after your last trip to Ghana. You told me the airline lost it." The master of illusion finally ran out of tricks. Jett's face didn't just go pale. It seemed to sag. The proud posture disappeared. The silence in the room changed from tense to suffocating. "You gave my gift to your maid's charity house?" Iris asked, standing up. "You didn't just build her a house. You decorated it with my life." Jett opened his mouth, but no sound came out. The orphan story was dead. The charity lie was rotting on the table between them. "I want the keys, Jett," she said. "The keys to what?" he whispered. "To everything. The phone you keep locked. The private bank account Dex uses to pay for that foundation. And I want the truth. If you say the word orphan one more time, I am calling the lawyers before you can even leave this room." Jett realized he was cornered. For 20 years he had managed the public, his fans, and his managers. But he had never been able to truly manage Iris. She was the only one who really knew him, and that made her the most dangerous person in the world to him. He tried one last move. He didn't use words this time. He used his body. He gripped the back of a chair. His breathing became loud and ragged. "Iris? My chest. It's tight." Iris didn't move. She stayed behind the table, her arms crossed. "Is it really tight, Jett? Or is it just the truth trying to get out?" Jett's eyes rolled back. This wasn't the fake hurt he had shown minutes ago. His skin turned a sickly gray. He slumped to the floor, his hand clutching his robe. "Iris!" he gasped. "Please." The coldness in Iris's heart flickered. She was a mother. She had been his wife for 2 decades. Even with the photos of the secret family staring her in the face, she couldn't watch a man die in front of her. She ran to him, grabbing her phone to dial the emergency number. "I'm calling the ambulance. But don't think this changes anything, Jett Cole. You aren't dying to escape this. You're staying alive to face it." As the sirens wailed in the distance, Iris held her husband's head in her lap. She looked down at the man who had given her a beautiful life and a beautiful lie, and she realized the war had only just begun. Do you think Jett actually had a heart attack? Or did his body just give up because he knew he couldn't lie anymore? Jett is headed to the hospital, and Iris is stuck between rage and worry. The London hospital smelled of bleach and silence. Jett was behind heavy doors in the intensive care unit, connected to monitors that beeped with every struggling beat of his heart. Iris sat in the waiting room, the manila envelope still clutched in her hand. She felt like she was in a trance, until she heard the sharp click-clack of polished leather shoes on the linoleum floor. Dex Mensa was there. He didn't look like a man whose best friend was dying. He looked like a man who was late for a business meeting. He was on his phone, his voice a low, urgent whisper. "Hide the social media posts. I don't care what it costs. If a single fan hears heart failure before I say so, you're fired." Dex stopped when he saw Iris. He smoothed his suit jacket and put on a mask of deep concern. "Iris, I came as soon as I heard. How is he?" Iris didn't stand up. She held up the photo of the wind chimes. He's dying, Dex. Or maybe he's just hiding. You would know, wouldn't you? Dex's eyes flickered to the photo. For a split second, the mask slipped. He knew exactly what that photo meant. But he was a professional. He had spent 10 years burying Jett Cole's mistakes. Iris, let's go somewhere private, Dex said, reaching for her elbow. Don't touch me, she snapped. Jett told me this was your charity project. He said you handled the budget. So tell me, Dex, how much of our family money went into buying silk dresses for my maid? Dex sat down opposite her. He didn't deny it, nor did he apologize. Instead, he leaned in, his voice cold and logical. Listen to me carefully, Iris. Jett is a brand. He is a national treasure. He is a legend in London and in Ghana. If the secret gets out, the brand dies. The sponsors leave. The royal invitations disappear. Your children's inheritance? It will vanish in lawsuits and scandals. Are you threatening me? Iris asked, her voice trembling. I'm protecting you, Dex replied. Jett made a mistake. Men like Jett always do. But he loves you. That house in Elmina? It's a cage, Iris. He keeps her there so she doesn't ruin your life. I make sure she stays quiet so you can stay a queen. Iris looked at Dex. She realized then that Dex wasn't just Jett's manager. He was the architect of the lie. He was the one who made the double life possible. And what do you get out of it, Dex? Iris asked. Why are you in the photos? Why do you look so comfortable in a house that doesn't belong to you? Dex smiled, but his eyes stayed dark. I'm the one who makes sure the walls don't fall down, Iris. Whether it's this house or that one. Before Iris could answer, a doctor stepped out of the ICU. Mrs. Cole? He's awake. He's asking for you. But please keep him calm. Any stress right now could be fatal. Dex stood up quickly. I'll come with you. No, Iris said, standing tall. You stay here and keep the brand clean, Dex. I'm going to go see my husband. And if he survives this, he's going to wish he hadn't. Iris is walking into that hospital room alone. Should she play the loving wife to keep him alive, or should she demand the truth right now, even if it kills him? The weeks following Jett's collapse were a blur of hushed conversations and heart monitors. Jett played the part of the dying man perfectly. He was soft-spoken, tearful, and incredibly affectionate. He apologized 1,000 times. Not for the second family, but for making Iris worry. He was using the oldest trick in the book, emotional fog. By being so fragile, he made it impossible for Iris to be angry without feeling like a monster. Eventually, the doctors gave the green light. Jett was stable, but he needed absolute peace. No stress, no London fog, no lawyers. Iris, darling, Jett whispered one evening as they sat in their garden. London feels like a cage. Every time I see the mailbox, I think of those photos. Every time I see Dex, I think of the mistakes. I need to go home. To Ghana, just for a few months. Iris looked at him. He looked thinner, his skin still holding a gray tint. You want to go back to the place where the lie is? No, Jett said, gripping her hand. I want to go to the main house in Cape Coast. I'll send Zuri away. I'll fire the staff who knew. I'll sell the Elmina house. I need to clean my soul, Iris. But I need to do it where the air is warm. If I stay here, the cold will kill me. Iris didn't believe him, but she was exhausted. Her children were in school in London. Her life was rooted here. Part of her wanted him gone. Not because she hated him, but because she couldn't breathe in the same house as his guilt. Go, she said. Go to Cape Coast. But Zuri stays away from the house. Dex stays in his office. And you call me every single night on video. If I see a single shadow I don't recognize, I file the papers. Jett smiled, a real, genuine smile. I promise. You are my only queen, Iris. Everything else was a fever dream. It's over. As the private jet took off from Heathrow, Jett didn't look back at the London skyline with sadness. He looked at it with relief. He had survived the confrontation. He had kept his wife from calling the lawyers. He had won. But as the plane crossed into African airspace, Jett pulled a small burner phone out of his pocket. One Dex had smuggled to him in the hospital. He sent a single text message. "I'm coming home. Get the house ready." The message wasn't sent to a real estate agent. It was sent to a number saved simply as Z. Jett Cole wasn't going to Ghana to heal his marriage. He was going to Ghana because in London he was a liar. But in Elmina he was a king. Jett is landing in Ghana. The shadow house is waiting. The heat of Ghana hit Jett the moment the cabin door opened. It wasn't just the temperature. It was the feeling of being back in a place where his word was law. In London, he was a patient under his wife's watchful eye. Here, he was the king of high life. Dex was waiting on the tarmac with a black SUV. They didn't speak as they drove away from the airport. They didn't head toward the main house in Cape Coast, where Iris thought he was going. They turned the wheels toward the coast, toward the hibiscus hedges and the hidden gate. When the car pulled into the driveway of the shadow house, the front door didn't just open. It flew. Two small boys, Kofi and Kojo, came sprinting across the grass. "Papa! Papa!" They didn't see a superstar or a liar. They saw their father. Jett knelt on the ground, his expensive suit crinkling in the dirt, and pulled them into his arms. For a second, the pain in his chest vanished. This was the peace he had told Iris about, but it was a peace built on a foundation of stolen time. Zuri stepped out onto the porch. She didn't look like the 19-year-old girl who used to scrub floors. She looked like the lady of the manor. She watched Jett with a mixture of relief and something sharper, something that looked like victory. "You look thin, Jett," she said as he approached. "I've been in a cage, Zuri," he whispered, kissing her forehead. "But I'm home now." For the next month, Jett lived a dream. During the day, he would take recovery naps at the main house in Cape Coast, just in case Auntie Rose or a stray reporter was watching. But as soon as the sun dipped below the horizon, he was back in Elmina. He stopped answering Iris's video calls on time. "The signal is bad," he would text. "I fell asleep early," he would lie. In the shadow house, the double life wasn't just a secret anymore. It was his reality. He watched TV with Zuri. He helped Kofi with his drawings. He even started writing music again, songs about secrets and the sea. But the peace was a lie. Dex Mensa was always there, lurking by the gate or sitting in the kitchen. Dex wasn't just a manager anymore. He was the keeper of the keys. One evening, Jett found Dex in his private study in the shadow house. Dex was looking through a folder of property deeds. "You're spending too much time here, Jett," Dex said without looking up. "Iris called the office today. She's asking why the Cape Coast house landline hasn't been picked up in 3 days. "I'll tell her I was at the beach," Jett muttered, pouring a drink he wasn't supposed to have. "She's not a fool, Jett. She's a wounded lioness, and wounded lionesses don't stay in London forever. They hunt." Jett laughed, but it turned into a cough that shook his whole body. "She thinks I'm a broken man, Dex. She thinks she won. Let her stay in the cold. I have everything I need right here." Jett looked out the window at Zuri playing with the children in the twilight. He felt untouchable. He felt like he had cheated death and cheated the truth. He didn't see the shadow of Auntie Rose's brother, the one Dex had hired as a gardener, watching him from the trees. He didn't know that back in London, Iris had just bought a one-way ticket to Accra. The ocean at Elmina is beautiful, but it is also loud. It roars against the shore, drowning out the sound of voices, the sound of footsteps, and the sound of a man gasping for air. In the shadow house, Jett felt like he was finally winning. He had spent a month living his secret life. He had forgotten about the monitors in the London hospital. He had forgotten about the divorce papers. He had even forgotten about the perfect wife waiting for his calls. But his body had not forgotten the damage he had done to it. It happened on a Tuesday night. The house was filled with the smell of Zuri's cooking. Jett was sitting in the living room, trying to teach Kofi how to play a chord on a small acoustic guitar. Suddenly, the guitar felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Jett's hand slipped. The guitar clattered to the marble floor with a hollow thump. He didn't cry out. He didn't even gasp. He just felt a cold, heavy hand squeeze his chest. "Papa!" Kofi asked, his eyes wide. Jett tried to smile. I'm just tired, Kofi. Go find your mother. By the time Zuri ran into the room, Jett was slumped in the armchair. His eyes were open, watching the moon over the Atlantic Ocean, but he wasn't really seeing it. Zuri didn't call the public hospital. She couldn't. Jett was officially in Cape Coast at the main house. If an ambulance arrived at this hidden villa, the secret would be on the front page of every newspaper by morning. She called the private doctor Dex had put on retainer. She called Dex. He's turning gray, Dex, she screamed into the phone. He's breathing, but he won't wake up. Dex's voice was like ice. Do not call the police. Do not leave the house. I am coming. For 3 days, the shadow house became a private hospital. Jett drifted in and out of consciousness. In his fever, he called out for Iris. Then he would wake up, see Zuri, and apologize. He was a man caught between two worlds, even at the very end. On the third night, the house went strangely still. The wind died down. Zuri sat by the bed, holding Jett's hand. He opened his eyes one last time. He looked around the room, at the expensive furniture he had bought to keep a woman quiet, at the toys on the floor, and at the face of the girl he had lied to the world about. He tried to speak. His lips moved, but the only sound was a soft rattle in his throat. He reached out as if he were trying to grab something just out of reach. Maybe a memory of the man he used to be before the lies took over. And then Jett Cole was gone. He didn't die as a superstar on a stage. He didn't die as a husband in London. He died as a secret, in a house that didn't officially exist, held by a woman the world thought was a maid. 6,000 miles away, in a quiet house in London, the sun was just starting to rise. Iris was standing in her kitchen, her suitcase packed and sitting by the door. She was ready to fly to Ghana to catch him in his lie. The phone on the counter buzzed. She didn't recognize the number, but she knew the caller. It was Dex. Iris, Dex said. His voice was heavy, but there was no sadness in it. It sounded like a man finishing a business deal. Where is he, Dex? Iris asked. I'm at the airport. Tell him I'm coming. There was a long silence on the line. You don't need to fly to Cape Coast, Iris, Dex whispered. He's gone. Jett passed away an hour ago. Iris felt the world tilt. At the main house? Was he alone? Did the doctors? He wasn't at the main house, Iris, Dex interrupted. He was at the house in Elmina, with Zuri. Iris dropped the phone. It hit the floor with the same hollow thump as Jett's guitar. The lie was over, but the nightmare was just beginning. While Iris was screaming into the silent air of her London kitchen, Zuri was not crying. She was sitting in the back of Dex's black SUV, watching Jett's body being loaded into an unmarked van. She looked at her hands. They were the hands of a woman who had served tea, scrubbed floors, and raised 3 children in secret. But as she looked at the shadow house one last time, she realized that service was over. It was time for ownership. We only have 48 hours, Dex said, driving away from the coast. Once the news hits the BBC and the Ghana National Radio, Iris will be on a plane. Once she lands, she'll try to lock the bank accounts. She'll try to freeze the estate. He called me his wife, Zuri whispered. In this house, I was the only one. The law doesn't care about whispers, Zuri, Dex snapped. The law cares about ink. They arrived at a high-rise building in Accra. The sign on the door read, Boateng and Associates, Estate and Family Law. Mr. Boateng was a man who grew rich on the secrets of powerful men. He didn't look shocked when Dex explained that the national hero Jett Cole had a second family. He simply opened a fresh yellow legal pad. Does she have a marriage certificate? Boateng asked. No, Dex admitted. But she has 3 children with his DNA. She has 10 years of bank transfers for maintenance. And she has this. Dex slid a piece of paper across the desk. It was a handwritten note Jett had scribbled months ago during a late night at the Shadow House. It wasn't a formal will, but it said, For Zuri, who gave me a home when the world gave me a stage. Everything here is yours. In Ghana, Mr. Boateng said, leaning back, Customary law is a powerful weapon. If we can prove that Jett lived with her as a husband, that the community saw them as a couple, and that he provided for her as a wife, we can challenge the London marriage. I want the main house, Zuri said. Her voice was no longer soft. It was cold. I want my children to have the Cole name. I want the world to know I wasn't just the maid he sent away. Then we don't wait for the funeral, Boateng said. We file a caveat on the estate today. We notify the banks that there is a second claimant. When Iris Cole tries to bury her husband, she's going to find a legal wall standing in front of the grave. As they left the office, Zuri felt a strange sense of power. She wasn't hiding anymore. She called her mother back in the village. Mama, she said, the children are going to meet their family, all of them. The legal papers are filed. The maid has a lawyer. While Iris was at 30,000 feet, Dex drove Zuri to a quiet, high-walled compound in Accra. This was the home of Uncle Ebenezer, head of the Cole family. In the eyes of the law, Jett was a one-woman man. His ordinance marriage to Iris was a legal contract that forbade any other wives. But Uncle Ebenezer didn't care about the laws of the city. He cared about the power of the family name and the weight of his own pockets. Ebenezer sat in a high-backed wooden chair. He looked at Zuri. She was barely 25, beautiful, and glowing with a cold confidence. She was young enough to be Jett's daughter, but the children clinging to her skirt had Jett's unmistakable eyes. Uncle, Zuri began, bowing low. I am not here to claim I was the first. We all know the London woman has the years. But I am the one who gave Jett a home when he was tired of being a superstar. I am the one who gave him the sons he prayed for. I am the one who held him when he died. Ebenezer shook his head. Jett has a wife in London, girl. A white wedding wife. She has the papers. You were just a girl in the house. Zuri didn't flinch. She knew that tradition is strong, but gold is stronger. She slid a glossy brochure across the table. It was for the High Life Grand Hotel, a massive, 50-room luxury hotel in the heart of Accra that Jett had built 3 years ago. It was the crown jewel of his wealth. The London woman wants to take Jett's body away, Zuri whispered. She wants to sell the lands and take the money back to the UK. The Cole family will get nothing but a funeral program and a handshake. She leaned closer. If I am recognized as the traditional wife, the woman who cared for him in his final decade, that hotel stays in Ghana. And if it stays, I will sign over 50% of the monthly profits to the head of the family. For your retirement. For the family fund. Forever. Uncle Ebenezer looked at the photo of the towering hotel. He thought of the thousands of dollars flowing through those doors every week. He thought of the influence he would have. The ordinance marriage is a paper from the government, Ebenezer muttered, his eyes glued to the hotel brochure. But the blood of the children is the law of the ancestors. I will tell the family that Jett took you in a secret traditional ceremony years ago. I will say we accepted the dowry in silence to avoid a scandal with the London woman. And Iris? Dex asked from the corner. She is the first wife for the public, Ebenezer said with a cold smile. But at the funeral, she will be a guest. Zuri will sit as the younger wife who stayed by his side until the end. Zuri will be the one the family protects. If the London woman makes a scene, the family will remind her that in this house, the head of the family has the final say. As Zuri walked out of the compound, she felt a chill. She had just traded a hotel for a seat on the widow's mat. She had bribed the one man who was supposed to be the judge of Jett's legacy. Later that night, the national news broke the story. The king of high life is dead. The Cole family head announces that funeral arrangements will be handled by the family and his wives. The plural S at the end of wives hit the internet like a lightning bolt. In London, Iris's phone exploded. In Ghana, Zuri put on her black cloth. The maid was gone. The younger widow was ready. Subscribe now, and remember to put your notification bell on. Episode 4 continues.